Hi everyone, welcome back to my series on Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm doing There Will Be Blood, and of course The Master comes out in a couple days, and I'll be seeing it pretty much right away and doing a video on it the next few days. I was going to do a clue on my mystery director number 3 for each one, but I think I'll just leave it at 5, because I can't really think of a good 6th clue. So if you'd like to make a guess as to who the mystery guy is, who I'll be doing a series on in November, you can send a private message to my channel with your guess. The final clue, oh by the way, each of the videos that I've done already contain a clue, and you can find them all in the playlist that's linked below. The final clue is, in the 90s, director number 3 released 4 movies. In 1990, in 1992, in 1997, and 1999. And these dates I verified on the Internet Movie Database, so I'm going by them. But as I recall, in my head, those were the actual years that those films did come out. But I just, verified them on that particular website, just to be sure. And the person who, of course, guesses correctly first will get a customized video from me on any topic that they like. And I'll be revealing the identity of said mystery director in my video for The Master. Just the 5 clues. I couldn't really think of a good one that didn't immediately give away who I was talking about. Some people guessed like right after my first video. It was just like, whoa, that's confident. So good. We'll see who's right and who's not soon enough. Before I get into talking about There Will Be Blood, I wanted to mention a couple of people. The Walking Fish did a video response to my Hard 8 video. He did his own review, and it's quite excellent. And he also did a really nice shout-out video and included me amongst the other channels he was talking about. So the link to that shout-out video is below if you'd like to check out a few other interesting channels. I also want to mention someone recommended Foley D87. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Foley D87 is an individual who did a couple of videos on Punch Drunk Love and There Will Be Blood. This was recommended to me by one of the people who commented on one of my other PTA videos. The Punch Drunk Love analysis is about 15 minutes long or so. He compares the film to Superman. It's sort of an allegorical reference to Superman. It's about 12 minutes long. The There Will Be Blood video that he did is half an hour long. Now I should warn you that these are analysis of the whole film, so if you haven't seen either of those, and don't want them spoiled, you shouldn't watch those videos until you do see the actual films. And the There Will Be Blood video is really, really good. Very, very thorough. And quite frankly, I can't think of a lot of stuff that he didn't mention in his video. And as a matter of fact, before even I watched that, I was having a hard time thinking about what I would talk about for this, because there isn't a lot that I could say about There Will Be Blood that hasn't been said better by other people, already. I will say that I think that it's Paul Thomas Anderson's best film so far. When it was nominated against No Country for Old Men at the Oscars, and although I'm a longtime fan of the Coen brothers and really was excited to see them win Best Director and Best Picture, I actually think that There Will Be Blood is the better film between the two of them. And I also think that There Will Be Blood is a big stylistic change from PTA's earlier films. I've been talking, of course, about the cast members that he reuses, particularly Philip Seymour Hoffman. Not only is Philip Seymour Hoffman one of the leads in The Master, he has been in every other PTA movie except for There Will Be Blood. And in fact, There Will Be Blood doesn't contain any of PTA's usual stable of actors. No Julianne Moore, no Louise Guzman, no John C. Reilly, no Melora Walters. None of those people are in There Will Be Blood. So it kind of reminds me of Fincher, actually. Fincher took 5 years in between Panic Room and Zodiac, and you could say that his style with Zodiac is less overdramatic and has been ever since. He's kind of pulled back a little bit, and I think that's the same with PTA. There are a lot of really stylistic kind of show-off moments in his earlier movies. A lot of long Steadicam shots, moving in and out of all different rooms of a place, and some fast cutting and some really sort of, the whipping camera style, what have you. A lot of tricks that he would employ regularly, as well as the long kind of sort of static extended shots. And although there are some long shots and some good steady cam work in There Will Be Blood, stylistically it's very different. The most he'd ever done regarding like a period piece up to this point was Boogie Nights, which is only set in the 70s. This is like the early 1900s. You know, although it technically is set in California, it's not the California that we know now. You know, not L.A., not San Fernando Valley or even Vegas or anything like that. It's all mostly, you know, just rural areas. I think actually that PTA and the Coen brothers were shooting their films at the same time, and they were shooting it just a few miles apart from each other. I think when there's a sequence in There Will Be Blood where the derricks explodes, basically, starts shooting fire up into the sky, and they sort of had to cancel filming on No Country for Old Men for the day because you could see it off in the distance. They were that close. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I've gathered. Now, of course, Daniel Day-Lewis won Best Actor for playing the lead in this movie. He plays Daniel Plainview. He's an oil man, as he called it. Guy who excels in finding oil and getting the resources together to bring it up out of the ground and sell it. And he's done very well for himself. This movie has been compared structurally to 2001, which I think is apt. The first section of the movie is almost completely dialogue-free. The last section of the movie is tonally very different from the first part. But that first section is really, really exciting. When you first meet him, he's got not a lot to his name, the character. He's got some tools, and he's managed to dig himself this tiny vertical mine straight into the ground where he's looking for precious metals like silver and what have you. You know, the very first time you see him, he's in almost complete darkness. He's got a pickaxe and he's whacking away at the rocks, sending sparks. That's really how you can see him, is because there's sparks flying everywhere. But he finally gets a little bit of ore, which he sells for some money, and then he's able to hire himself some men and build himself his first makeshift derricks, which is when he goes after what he really wants, which is oil. And from then on, he builds his empire. And of course, early on in the film, during that first section, one of the crewmen who's working on his first derricks has his little baby boy with him. And when he gets killed, Daniel takes his boy and raises him as his own son, names him H.W. And I'm thinking to myself, where's the mother? This guy, he's got his son with him here while he's on the job. Why isn't someone else taking care of this baby? And if there is someone else, if there is a mother out there somewhere, a wife of his, isn't she wondering what's happened to her little boy, not to mention her husband? All of a sudden they just up and disappear, you know? They're all gone. Who knows what's happened to him, you know? It's a little bit crazy. Plainview explains the presence of his son without a wife as, you know, his mother died in childbirth, which is a lie. But he uses him as a means of selling himself, putting a nice wholesome face on his business. It's a great line when some competitors tell him, "It must be easy for you to get business with that, you know, cute little boy to show everybody." And Plainview goes, "Are you telling me you think my son is handsome?" You know. So yeah. Like I said, don't have really a lot of original stuff to say about the film that hasn't been already said. The character of Eli, a little bit of trivia for you, the character of Eli was originally cast with a different actor. Kind of like how Eric Stoltz had to be replaced in Back to the Future. PTA, I guess, didn't think that the first guy he hired was working out so well in the part, so we had to recast the part with Paul Dano and reshoot those scenes. I also believe that he meant for the storyline originally to go beyond what the ending of the film is, into, say, the late 40s. There was a shot in People magazine while the movie was being made of Daniel Day-Lewis walking around New York City in period dress with white hair. And they mentioned, here's Daniel Day-Lewis shooting his latest film, There Will Be Blood, that takes place like in the 40s or 50s or something like that. And that's like, if you look at the movie, it doesn't extend that far. I think that PTA shot some stuff, some material to take place long after the end of the picture, but he decided, nah, here's where we're in the movie. It's good right there. And it's a, you know, a nice strong ending, though it is a little comically overplayed. To be honest, I've never been totally on board with the way the ending is executed, but the rest of the picture is really fantastic. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I admire the picture a great deal, but don't really love it. It's not something that's easy to connect to. Plainview is a character who is unlikable most of the time. In fact, there's really only one character in the whole movie that's really likable, and that's HW, his son. Towards the end of the movie, Plainview explains to his HW that he isn't actually his son. His son wants to go and start his own oil company. He says, well, you'll be a competitor. You know, this is supposed to be a family business. You're supposed to follow my footsteps. And he gets really mad and he says, you were just a bastard in a basket, you know. No one wanted you, you know. You're not my son, you know. That's how it is, you know. So when he walks out of there, that was just a really, really sad moment, because now Plainview, he's all alone. The guy who made this analysis of There Will Be Blood was talking about how Plainview's goal throughout the movie isn't just to find oil and attain wealth, but also to find a family. And he cites a number of different scenes and characters to support that. It's a really, really excellent video. But again, don't watch it if you haven't seen the film already. Yeah, technically the movie is aces. You know, just really like the style of it. You know, the score is great. The score is by Johnny Greenwood, and he also did the score for The Master, so very excited about that. Yeah, it's a definite, it's one for the books, that's for sure. Like I said, don't have a lot to say about this movie that hasn't been already said. There are guys much smarter than I am that will go on about how brilliant the movie is in all these different ways. So I'll just leave it at that for now. And around Saturday or Sunday, I'll have my video of The Master up. I hope you tune in for that. And at that time, I'll also tell you who the mysterious director number 3 is, and also tell you who was able to guess correctly first. So I hope you'll tune in for that. Thanks for watching, guys. See you again real soon.